Second white coat. Subscribe and like. Let's learn medicine together.
All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're basically playing detective. We're going to solve a fascinating medical mystery that starts with one single really bizarre symptom that acts like a clue, leading us deep inside the incredible wiring of the human brain. Seriously, just imagine this for a second. You wake up one morning, you look around your room, and everything to your left, it's just gone. Not black, not blurry, it's just not there. The left half of your alarm clock, the left wall, half of your friend's face, poof, vanished. How disorienting would that be? Well, that is exactly what happened to our patient. Now, you might think the problem's with her eyes, right? But it's not. This strange symptom is actually a clue that points to something very specific happening inside her brain, and we're going to follow that clue, piece by piece, and solve this thing together. Okay, so like any good investigation, we have to start with the facts of the case. Let's open up the patient's file and see what we're working with. Here's the rundown. Our patient is 69 years old, she's right-handed, and she comes in complaining about this sudden visual problem. She keeps bumping into things on her left side. She's also got a mild headache, but this right here is the detail that makes our ears perk up. She has a history that puts her at a high risk for a stroke. That is our number one lead. So, the most dramatic clue we have is that vision loss. But to a neurologist, it's not that she lost her vision, it's the pattern of the loss. That pattern is like a map pointing to a very specific location in the brain. Now, the technical term for this is left homonymous hemianopia. I know, it's a mouthful, but let's break it down because it's actually pretty simple. Hemi means half, anopia means blindness, and homonymous, this is the important part, means it's the same half missing from both eyes. That's our big clue, right there. Now hold on, that sounds kind of weird, right? If both eyes are affected, your first thought is probably that the problem is with the eyes themselves. But in neurology, this specific pattern tells us the exact opposite. It tells us the problem is way further back, deep inside the brain. So how does that work? Well, it all comes down to the brain's absolutely wild wiring. Take a look at this diagram. All the information from the left side of your vision, from both of your eyes, travels along these pathways and then it crosses over, and it all ends up getting processed on the right side of the brain, in the occipital lobe. So, boom, a single problem, one little lesion on the right side of the brain can completely knock out the left field of view for both eyes. We've just narrowed our search from the whole body down to the right side of the brain. Okay, that's huge. We've narrowed it down to the right hemisphere. But there's another, much more subtle clue hiding in her vision that is going to let us pinpoint the exact blood vessel that's causing all this chaos. You see, the really crucial detail here isn't just about what she can't see. It's about the small but critical part that she can. While all of her peripheral vision on the left is just gone, her central, high-definition vision, the part she uses to read or see a face clearly, is perfectly fine. This little phenomenon is called macular sparing, and trust me, it's the smoking gun in this whole case. To understand why, let's look at the brain's plumbing. The vision center, the occipital lobe, gets most of its blood supply from one main artery, the posterior cerebral artery, or PCA for short. But, and here's the trick, the tiny little part that handles our super sharp central vision often gets a backup blood supply from a totally different artery, the middle cerebral artery, or MCA. Think about it like the power to your house. A big storm knocks out the main power line, that's our PCA, stroke. Most of the house goes dark, that's the lost peripheral vision. But one critical room, maybe the one with the Wi-Fi router, is hooked up to a backup generator. That's the MCA. That one room stays lit. That is macular sparing, and it tells us we have a blockage specifically in the right PCA. So, we have identified our culprit, a stroke in the right posterior cerebral artery. And now, this is where things get really cool. We can go from being detectives to being fortune tellers. By knowing which artery is blocked, we can actually predict what other symptoms our patient is likely to have. This is the elegance of clinical neurology. It's a simple two-step process. Step 1, use the visual problem to find the location. In this case, that's the right occipital lobe, which is PCA territory. Step 2, you just ask, okay, so what else is in the neighborhood? What other brain structures does that same artery supply? The PCA is a major pipeline. It doesn't just feed the vision center. It also supplies blood to these other critical structures nearby. And the big one we care about for this case is the thalamus. You can think of the thalamus as the brain's main relay station for all sensory information. Touch, pain, temperature, all of it comes through there. So let's connect the dots. If the stroke in the PCA is big enough to also damage the thalamus, what would happen? Exactly. You'd lose sensation on the opposite side of the body. So since our lesion is in the right PCA, we would predict that our patient has sensory loss on her left side. And just like that, we have a complete picture. We've used the clues to build a consistent, predictable story. So let's put it all together and officially close this case. This table helps us confirm we're on the right track by ruling out other possibilities. For instance, if she had trouble with speech, that's fluent aphasia, we'd suspect the MCA artery. If she had problems with coordination, that's dysmetria, we'd look at arteries in the cerebellum. Neither of those fits our patient. But hemisensory loss, losing sensation on one side, that points directly to the thalamus, right in the territory of our culprit, the PCA. All the evidence aligns. So here it is, the classic high-yield pattern to remember. When you see a patient with vision loss in one half of their world, but their central vision is spared, you should immediately think PCA stroke. And the very next thing you should check for is sensory loss on that exact same side. And this right here, this is the key takeaway, the one-liner that wraps it all up. That specific pattern of vision loss, the one with macular sparing, points directly to the occipital cortex. And because of how the brain's blood supply is laid out, the closest neighbor that's likely to get hit is the thalamus, causing sensory loss on the same side. It's really incredible when you think about it. A simple bedside exam, just looking at what a patient can and cannot see or feel, allows us to map a problem to a specific millimeter-wide artery deep inside the brain. It makes you wonder, what other secrets is the brain just waiting to tell us if we only know how to look?